So maybe we'll begin. I just want to welcome everyone, um, Joseph and Diana and Sharon and Jennifer, Danfo, Christina, Kim, Jody, Jenny, Anne, Sai. It's really good to see everyone, and I appreciate your presence here. And yeah, to sort of echo what Jyoti was saying, this is such a beautiful space where we don't have to have expectations. We don't have to set any rigid goals around showing up. We can just meet the moment and meet ourselves just as we are. And in light of the events that have taken place in the country with the mass hate crimes, and just also acknowledging that we're still experiencing this pandemic. And then to Joseph's point, we're all, you know, having our own individual unique experiences, whether that's in our professional lives, at home. So there's just a lot to hold. And I'm feeling that this moment is particularly tender. And so last week we explored with Jyoti the story that I'm telling myself, dot, dot, dot. And this practice is like almost like a little bit of an access door to check in and see, okay, what's true? Is this really true? And taking our time to unpack that, because we don't want to force that journey or exploration. And so it got me thinking about practicing kindness or practicing compassion. And sometimes in our Western culture, self-care can be thought of as something that's selfish or not worth doing. And I can say that I had the story that I was telling myself was that, yeah, it's selfish of me to take time in my day, or, that's something that I was living with. And then at some point I was like, that's not so true, because the care that I can give to another is directly linked to the access that I have within, right? So it's almost like an act of social justice, of love, to really do this for ourselves, because it really counts on us doing that inner work to be able to show up in our communities, in our professional spaces, and really give that to one another. So I wanted to practice. The good news is that we can practice this. It's something we can try. And so I wanted to share a compassion practice today. It's sort of inspired by Dr. Kristen Neff. She's done a lot of work in the field and the research around compassion and what it actually does to the brain and the body. And turns out, if we practice compassion, we are leading happier lives. We're healthier. Our bodies respond and regulate in ways that support, healthy lifestyles. So there's that, and just something to try today. So it'll center around some phrases that I'll offer. And again, this is just a suggestion, and take what you'd like to experiment with, and leave anything that doesn't feel supportive for you. So we'll just begin. Finding a position that feels comfortable. And right away, we can establish this practice of being kind. Like, what is it that would actually make you feel comfortable right now? Maybe that's your eyes are opened. Maybe they're closed. Maybe you're seated upright, or maybe you're kind of lying back in your chair, or even lying down. Take a few seconds here. What is it that would feel supportive right now with the body posture? Knowing that, of course, this can change throughout the practice, just as the body is processing, always changing. You can shift, you can move. Invite that movement if it feels comfortable, or maybe invite a sense of stillness in the posture. If it feels good, you can take a few breaths, really just acknowledging that you're breathing and feeling into that to the degree that feels accessible, resourceful to you. Breathing in, knowing that you're breathing in, and breathing out, knowing that you're breathing out. If you'd like, you can connect to this breath, the way it feels breathing, maybe even feeling the warmth and the coolness of the breath coming in and out of the nose, or the movement in the chest or the belly, rising and falling with each breath. This feeling the breath, or even just knowing that you're breathing, can serve as a place to come back to if you're feeling activated or you just need to sort of pause and reset inside the practice. Really listening to yourself, moving at a pace that feels comfortable, not forced. And so acknowledging that we're in a complex, dynamic life. With that, there's joy, there's heartache, there's frustration, there's fear, happiness. Just acknowledging that at times it could feel like we're holding a lot. So, this practice is here to support just being present with whatever's here, meeting each moment like you would meet a good friend without judgment. And so, I'll offer these phrases. You can feel free to repeat them to yourselves if that feels comfortable. And if not, just finding again that place where you would like to rest your attention, maybe coming back to the breath. So, taking a moment here to acknowledge that there is suffering. Just knowing that that is a truth. And knowing that there's suffering, I intend to be kind to myself right now. I intend to be kind to myself right now. And maybe just practicing what it feels like to be kind. Maybe bringing a hand to your heart if that feels comfortable, or just even knowing that the body is here and you're acknowledging that you're present. That's enough. You're here showing up. And this last phrase, this is part of being human. This is just part of being human. There is suffering. Knowing this, can I be kind to myself right now? And even if there's not a sense of kindness showing up for you, that's okay. No need to force this. This practice of showing up is the intention to be kind. That's enough. And this is part of being human. This is just part of being human. So now I invite you to just check in. Again, establishing this open presence that doesn't have a judgmental, critical lens. Just as you would show up for a good friend or someone that you love or care about, practicing that same presence for yourself. How is it right now? And what might be needed? Trusting in your innate wisdom. And as we begin to transition from this formal practice, we'll come together in our shared space and take this practice along with us. This kind attention. So if the eyes have been closed, can gently begin to open them if you'd like to, or introduce some movement to the body if that feels good. Again, offering a kind attention. And I'd like to just leave us with some words with one of my favorite teachers. She says, in meditation, we learn that our busy minds, our heartache, the pain in our bodies, the fear that we feel for the future, the weight of collective grief, the exhaustion that overcomes us, none of these are to be sidelined or bypassed. And we also do not need to deny ourselves wellness when there's suffering. In fact, everything is included in our awareness: heartache and fear, as well as joy, as well as strength, love, pride, peace. This is something that the teacher Sebene Selassie shares. And so thank you for trying this practice of holding multiple things at once, right? We each have our own unique ways of living. Each one of you in this Zoom has your own dynamic life. And then you come together and you're the shared workplace together. And there's that. And so this practice is really, again, self-care as community care. The more that we have access to what it feels like to care for ourselves, we can bring it into our communities. And so thank you for truly practicing it. And it takes a lot of courage to do this. And so I appreciate this group has been so courageous throughout and so willing. And I'm really feeling that. I'm really seeing that in each week, showing up and seeing, oh, look at all these people, like really willing to see things as they are, and to meet each one of yourselves with yeah, a true compassionate lens. So just want to acknowledge that after all these weeks, that is really present. Thank you so much. I want to leave some space to see how this is landing. If there's any questions, maybe there's some confusion around this practice or discomfort, all experience here is welcome. Um, yeah.
And also, I just want to say if there's any specific kind of practice that you feel like would be really supportive for you to receive in the follow up email, if you want to articulate that to us, like, I'd really like a practice that helps me do this. Let us know, because then we can be really purposeful about what we include in our follow-up with you all.
Absolutely.
We need a practice that is for energizing and releasing stress.
Mhm.
And Gretchen, I know that you had a meditation email go out to one of our people. And I mentioned that Jyoti taught a meditation class I took several years ago. That was really very helpful. So the meditation class for brokers. So Gretchen, I know that you sent one to one of our people. Maybe you could include that as well. And Jyoti, have you taped that meditation class you taught us in Oak Harbor a few years ago?
I haven't taped the full workshop, but I have over 13 meditations on my page on Studio B that they're all 15 minutes or less. So they're really bite-sized to fit in your day. And I've tried to name, like, there's one that's like for sitting with uncertainty. There's one for learning to be your best friend. One for grounding through the 5 senses. So I think the titles are very clear. And they're all something you could take a pause in your workday, 10 minutes or less, and sit and do those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just say, sigh to something that's coming to mind, because I actually feel pretty lethargic today. And I'm glad you brought that in, because this is one of my favorite things about sharing, because it kind of helps me a little bit too, gives me wonderful reminders. One thing that I like to do, this may or may not be useful for you, but I figured I'd share. If I'm feeling particularly like tired, um, I may try standing. If you have access to standing. So if that's something that feels supportive, and you know, taking just a couple minutes in a standing posture can really feel energizing for me. Not all the time, but sometimes if I'm super activated, I kind of need to sit down or even lie down. But yeah, I've done this before where I'm like, oh, I feel really sleepy. Like sitting is just not going to help me. So it may be something to try out. I don't know if maybe you've tried that before, or maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But yeah.
I'll follow up with Gretchen. I'm not sure if we linked it last week, but I mentioned the TED Talk of Amy Cuddy's, the Fake It Till You Make It. And what you're describing, Jessica, is she calls it power posing, but she'll literally, it takes 2 minutes, and she just stands with her feet wide apart, and either her arms kind of out or her arms here, and just 2 minutes like this. And it literally, so the kind of energy you bring into a space is one that's more of empowerment and strength, and just like a self-knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, power pose is something that I do. And even when I'm working with some of my brokers, if they've, if we've been strategizing on a difficult conversation that they have coming up, Joe and I always say, face the dragon while it's still a gecko. But dealing with that anxiety and getting ready to go face the dragon, power pose it's an amazing mindset and a game changer. It really helps get you ready to do what you need to do. So thanks for bringing that up, because I was thinking it in my head, but I couldn't come up with Amy Cuddy's name.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, I just want to echo, like, all of you have lived how many years we're all on this earth, right? Each one of us have gotten this far. Like, we've been doing something right. We have this wisdom, right? So turns out, when I was began meditating and years into the practice, I would reflect back and be like, oh, I was kind of doing things. I wouldn't have called it meditation practice per se, but I was already resourcing myself. So one of the powerful things inside of, just giving yourself a moment to acknowledge, like, oh, this is happening. Like in our practice today, like, this is happening. and then sitting back and seeing what comes to light, because we've been resourcing ourselves, because it takes resources to be alive. So it's just nice to set that intention. Okay, I'm going to be kind by acknowledging what's here without fighting it, without changing it. Like Jennifer, you were saying, like this, we have to strategize, or there's this difficulty is here, this difficult something in work comes up, and it's like, okay, this is happening. Whew, all right. And then just waiting a second to see, like, letting that natural wisdom show up without forcing it. And even doing things like supporting yourself, if that's the pose, or just like letting the body be in this like strength pose, or whatever it is. But we all really have the capacity to resource. We do it. It's just shifting our attention, or reminding ourselves to pay attention to how we do. How do we live? Because it takes resources. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry we were late again. We'll work on it. Okay. We actually trimmed our meeting down, knowing that we had a tough topic today, and I think we almost did good. So.
Well, and I also just want to say, like, take the easeful path. Like, we know you guys are coming from a really important meeting. Don't allow that to become a weight to getting to this meeting. Like, we're going to be here when you show up. If you're a few minutes late, that's okay. Just let it be easy. You're going to get here. We trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give us that kind of latitude.
Thank you, Christina, for that levity.
I get it. Let it be easy.
One of my teachers says, move at the speed of trust. Her name is Leslie Booker. I love it. Because again, it's back to like, well, we've made it this far in life, right? So we've been doing something. So trust yourselves and just, yeah, move at your own pace. But yeah, we're here. Reach out, as Gretchen was saying, drop any requests in, and all of us really, really appreciate your feedback.
Great, and we'll have more of it coming.
Great.
All right,
Thank
good to see
you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
See you next week.
See you.